Welcome, wanderers, one and all, to my channel. I am Lolothan. You can call me Lalo or Lalo. Doesn't matter which. I'm happy with either. I'm easy. Not in that way. So today I am on the Elder Scrolls Online public test server, and I'm just going to give you a quick overview of the changes, or some of the changes that are happening with the upcoming update 29, which I feel is going to probably be one of the last major updates before the start of the new year-long adventure, which is the Gates of Oblivion, new expansion, which drops with the Blackwood DLC later this year. First thing, you might be wondering, where am I? Let me just come out of the housing editor here. Where am I? Well, this is a new Islade Ruins house. It's going to be made available at some point in some way. Can't tell you how, when, or anything like that, except that this is a beautiful and huge house. You see the ethereal blue area behind me? Well, there's a whole house in there, big open space into the rock. One of the things I actually noticed, if you actually look at the entryway there, I noticed this when I was looking around the house the other day, you'll see, well, the door looks rather phallic, doesn't it? Welcome to my world now, because now you've seen that, you will not be able to unsee it. I have been on the live servers the past few days, and whenever I've entered an Islade Ruins, I have never failed to notice the fact that, yes, okay, the entryways, hallways and stuff are a bit phallic looking. So all I'll say is, you're welcome. The other thing you might be wondering is, what is this very fetching outfit that I'm wearing? Sexy, isn't it? Shows off the midriff. Very nicely put together outfit. This is actually the light armor set from, I believe, the Cauldron, which is one of the new dungeons that will be available in the Blackwood DLC. And let's just have a quick. This is the Ritualist set. So I'm wearing 7 pieces. Obviously, I'm well above the 5-piece bonus, but I just like the look of the set. So, and also this serves a purpose, which I'll show you. I'm just going to take all of this off now because that serves a purpose. So yeah, you can stare at a naked dark elf for a while. So without further ado, what's changed? That's what you're here for, isn't it? Let's go into the skill lines. Now, there are significant changes to the weapon skill lines, particularly two-handed and dual wield. Even bigger changes overall to the armor skill lines. And then there's the champion point system rework. And those 3 things are what I'm basically going to talk about today. But first, one of the great additions here that they alluded to in the global reveal event, showcased off very briefly, is the addition of the advanced stats tab, which I think is brilliant. It gives you everything. So it gives you much more opportunity, and you'll see how this plays into the system that they're building here, the changes they're making. It's much more opportunity to fine-tune all of your costs, for you to look at speeds, etc., resistances, damage bonuses, healing bonuses. You can really fine-tune that and really min-max it potentially now. Now, I don't know where this 5% resistance to all of these is coming from. With fire resistance, I've got 12% because I'm a dark elf, so I get an extra 7% fire resistance to begin with. I don't know where these have come from. I've tried to figure it out. Let's just gloss over that for now. The important thing I think here are the base costs. So 1750 block cost, Very expensive break free cost. 4k dodge roll cost. Anyway, that'll play into the armor trees and also the CP a bit more. Initially, let's look at the weapons, particularly dual wield and two-handed, and very specifically twin blade and blunt. As you can see, things look a bit different. And then two-handed heavy weapons again. I mean, for the purpose of this, basically all of the bonuses that you see there that are changed are halved for dual wield, so I'm not going to go into dual wield at all. But let's talk about these changes here. So great swords, or swords in general, instead of giving you a percentage bonus to damage output, now increase your weapon and spell damage by a set amount. So for dual wield one-handed swords, it's basically half that. So you've got 284 weapon and spell damage if you equip a greatsword. I think that's nice. I prefer that to the way it was done before. I think it probably also simplifies the way it's calculated in the system. So yeah, that's good. The big change really, and this is true for one-handed axes as well, is that they no longer have a chance to proc a bleed. So you're no longer going to see heavy weapons or twin blade and blunt bleeds if you're using a combat report add-on. You're not going to see those. Instead, axes increase your critical damage and critical healing. A great axe, a battle axe should I say, is 8%, and then one-handed axes are 4% each. And then finally, we have maces, and well, two-handed maces are mauls, one-handed maces are maces, and they offer flat armor penetration. Now, armor penetration is a combined stat, so it offers you both physical and spell penetration. It's like the armor stat itself. The armor stat itself gives you both physical and spell resistances. So if we just have a very brief look, I've got a maul here. If I put that on, go to my character sheet, I now have 3,300 spell and physical penetration. Now this is a pretty significant difference for mauls and maces, because beforehand they would offer a percentage reduction to the amount of resistances of your target based on what resistances they have at the time. So the less resistances a target had, the less bonus penetration you'd be getting from your maces. So I think it was 10% per one-handed and then 20% for the maul. And obviously that, as far as I'm aware, worked after all debuffs were taken into account. So say in a veteran trial where you have a boss that's on 18,200 resistances, I believe that's the maximum. If you knocked off all the debuffs and the boss had like 4k resistances left, you'd be getting an extra 800 equivalent of penetration from a maul. If it was at 18.2k resistances, obviously you'd be getting like around 3,600 extra penetration from a maul. So this is a nice change, in my opinion. This gives you a flat buff to penetration that is not diminished by the relative resistances of your target. So, and again, this plays into the fact that Zos is trying to give you a more flexible in Mac's centric system. You can play around with your actual direct combat related stats a lot more with this system. So that's the weapon skill lines, really. Bow has undergone certain changes, I believe. I've not really looked at it, to be fair, and there's not really much changed with other things. So I'm not going to focus on that anymore. Let's go to armor. Now, the first big thing you'll see is that they have added extra passives here. Penalties and bonuses. For light and heavy armor, you've got both. For medium armor, you just have bonuses. There's already been a bit of a fracas over that, with players saying, well, why is medium armor only getting bonuses whilst light and heavy have penalties as well? I would say it is in part due to the fact that you are getting more comprehensive mitigative bonuses for both light and heavy armor, and as you'll see when we get to the bonuses, whereas medium armor not really as much. So, but other than that, I'm not really going to comment. One of the big things you'll see that's changed, if you just look through these passives, you're no longer required to wear a minimum of 5 pieces of 1 armor weight to gain a bonus. So for every piece of one type of armor that you wear, you gain a small amount of bonus. So if you find yourself in a situation where you are only wearing, let's say, 4 pieces of light armor for whatever reason, you're no longer going to be blocked off from getting any bonuses from concentration, for example, which used to require 5 pieces. You're now going to get, and let's just pop some armor on now. 1, 2, let's put the jerkin on. 3, and some shoes. 4. So I've got 4 pieces of light armor on there. Okay, now we're getting 3,756 spell penetration bonus, and that is reflected as well in your character sheet. So that's a nice change, and that's true for all of these skill lines. There's no longer 5-piece limitations. So looking at the penalties for the light armor, as you can see, each piece of light armor does the following: increases damage taken from martial attacks by 1%. Now, for the purpose of this, martial attacks are all attacks that deal physical, bleed, poison, and disease damage. So, if we... where are we? Say I put on my entire set here. I'm going to be taking 7% extra damage from all martial attacks. It remains to be seen whether that is going to feel significant. I think for more seasoned players, it may well not feel that significant. We'll see in the long run. But yeah, so the next one increases the cost of block by 3% per piece. So that's 21%. Right now I'm wearing 7 pieces of light armor, so the cost of my block is now 21% higher. And if we look at the advanced stats, block cost has gone up to 2,117. If we take all of this armor off, go back, 1,750. So it's about, 375-ish more stamina per block. Which, if you are blocking a lot or you find yourself in a scenario where you are low on stamina regularly, it can happen. I mean, particularly in PvP, for example, that extra block cost can be the difference between life and death. However, we can mitigate this extra cost in the CP system. So I don't necessarily think light armor players will have to change too much. When I looked at this initially, I kind of thought, ooh, okay, so they're really pushing light armor players to dodge roll instead of blocking. However, blocking is still cheaper than dodge roll in general, but we can augment dodge roll as well as block in CP. So I think it opens up these penalties and bonuses. You'll see more in a second when I get to the bonuses. It opens up the option of dodge rolling as a light armor wearer more than anything else. Final thing, decreases damage done with bash by 1% per piece. Okay, whatever. Don't really care about that myself. Some people might care about that. Probably not, maybe. I don't know. Let's get on to bonuses. So each piece of light armor again does the following: reduces damage taken from magical attacks by 1% per piece. So this is the counter. You take more martial damage, take less magical damage. I think that's a nice sort of like trade-off there. It's an even trade-off. And for the purpose of this, magical damage or magical attacks are any attacks that do fire, ice, lightning, or magic damage. So when you get into the CP system, you may want to concentrate a little less if you're wearing light armor on mitigating magical attacks, and a little more perhaps on mitigating martial attacks. And here's where we get into the whole roll dodge thing. Reduces the cost of roll dodge by 3% per piece. Now, if we go into my stat system here, originally the cost of a roll dodge was over 4,000 stamina per roll dodge. Now it's just over 3,100. That's nice. It can be further reduced in the CP system. So like I said, it's really opening up the opportunity for light armor players to use roll dodge effectively without destroying their stamina pools, as can happen currently. The other bonus reduces the cost of break free by 5% per piece. I mean, that's pretty huge. Again, going back to the advanced stats here. See, it's advanced stats. It's wonderful. I'm so pleased about this. Break free cost is now 3,500 stamina with 7 pieces of light armor worn. Now, let's take all of this off. It's, I believe, 5,400. Yep, 5,400 with none on. So, say you want to do your standard, the usual 5-1-1. Okay, so you got your 5 pieces of light armor there, and then you've got your medium armor and your heavy armor piece there to max your undaunted passives. Your break free cost has gone down by 1,400 stamina. Your roll dodge cost also has gone down by 600 stamina. Your block cost has gone up by 262 stamina there. So it's, I would say, not as daunting as people thought it might be. And then the final one there is reduces the cost of bash by 3% per piece. Yeah, once again, whatever. As you can see, I don't really care much about that. That's me. Okay, medium armor. Just the bonuses. And immediately what you can see here is the first 2 bonuses aren't really directly combat related, I suppose. I suppose it's more directly combat related when you come to PvP. But yeah, so you've got sprint cost reduction there, sneak cost reduction, both nice perks to wearing medium armor, not really essential. But the third one here is where it starts to get more interesting, and that is reduces the cost of block by 3% per piece. Now, a lot of stamina DPS players are going to be wearing, or have been wearing, 7 pieces of medium armor anyway, because they get the most out of their passives currently, and that's not going to change. It's probably we're actually probably going to see more light armor players wearing 7 pieces instead of 5-1-1. Once again, it depends on how they want to tailor their stats, but yeah, so 21% block cost reduction for 7 pieces of medium armor. Now, that's nice. That's a nice bonus. And also, must not forget that each piece of medium armor reduces the cost of roll dodge by 4%. So 28% roll dodge cost reduction. So once again, in medium armor as well, they're making the cost of block and roll dodge more accessible, less resource sapping baked into the armor itself, which is nice, I think. The fourth one reduces damage taken from area of effect attacks by 2% for 2 seconds after you use roll dodge. This is nice. The actual time doesn't go up, by the way, in case anyone was wondering. It's 2 seconds. It's a 2-second buff. It's only the amount of damage taken that gets reduced. The reduction in the amount of damage taken that increases. So you can get a maximum of 14% reduced area of effect damage for 2 seconds after roll dodging if you're wearing 7 pieces of medium armor. This is, I suppose, nice in both PvP and PvE, probably more so in PvP, but still useful in PvE at certain junctures when you need to mitigate area of effect damage. As a stamina player, as a medium armor area, you can roll dodge and 14% reduction. Nice. Increases movement speed by 2% per piece whilst immune to crowd control. More of a PvP thing. Probably will be helpful in certain niche scenarios in PvE. Still good. So heavy armor. This probably caused the most consternation to begin with. I suppose the jury's out on how much it's actually really going to impact gameplay for tanks, how much it's going to impact the heavy armor meta in PvP. Time will tell. If you look at the penalties, increases damage taken from magical attacks by 1% per piece, which is maximum of 7%. I'm not sure how many tanks wear 5-1-1 to maximize their overall stat pools. That's what I do on mine. So I will, after update 29, be taking 5% more magical attack damage. Again, whether that's really significant or not remains to be seen. I suppose it could be significant in certain veteran trial scenarios. For example, Veteran Sunspire against the different dragons, where you're taking a lot of magical attack damage and you can take a lot of it very quickly. We'll see with that. Still early days. There's still a possibility for that to change. It probably won't, so we'll just have to get used to it. Reduces the movement speed bonus of sprint by 1% per piece. Okay. Probably more impactful in PvP than PvE. The exception possibly being those niche scenarios where a tank needs maximum mobility. But again, it remains to be seen whether that really, for experienced tanks, is noticeable or not. Here's the big thing. Increases the cost of roll dodge by 3% per piece. So on a tank like mine, that's 15% extra roll dodge cost. And let me take off my light armor set again. Roll dodge cost is already 4k stamina. That's a lot. So an extra 15% on that means I'm looking at 4,600-ish stamina for a roll dodge. That's expensive, isn't it? So, yeah, that could be problematic. Particularly given the fact we don't have any roll dodge reduction cost here, unlike medium armor. But anyway, you're a tank. You got a shield. Block for God's sake. Finally, the final one for the penalties: increase the size of your detection area while sneaking by 10% per piece. So basically 70% detection area size increase if you're wearing 7 pieces, 50% for 5, whatever. It's an immersion thing, I suppose. During the global reveal event, they made a very logical statement that people wouldn't really be sneaking around in heavy armor, would they? It'd be clanking. It would be, yeah. So yeah, that makes sense. Maybe I'll put some. Yeah, we go. Let's put some pants on him so he's not showing off his bulge. So let's get to bonuses. Bonuses reduces damage taken from martial attacks by 1% per piece. There's the counter. More magical damage taken, less martial damage taken, which I think is nice. Like I said, for my tank, that's a 5% damage reduction from physical, poison, bleed, and disease damage attacks. That's quite nice. And here we go. Here's where they're really hammering home. Block, boys and girls, and non-binary individuals. Block. Increase the amount of damage blocked by 1% per piece. That's nice. I like that. So yeah, you can really block the hell out of a lot of incoming damage as a tank already, and they are further increasing that with update 29. Increases the damage done with bash by 3% per piece. Okay, whatever. Probably more useful in PvP. I mean, if you really enjoy running up and smashing people's faces in with your shield, yeah, great. You're going to be able to do that more easily now. Otherwise, I don't think it's really impactful. Here is another nice thing, actually. Reduces your damage taken while immune to crowd control by 2% per piece. So, again, for my tank, that's going to be 10% less damage taken in general. And I believe that is, it doesn't matter whether that damage is sourced from players or non-players. And the reason I make that distinction is when we get into CP, you'll see. I think that's just general, any damage taken. Definitely going to be helpful in PvP. Probably helpful for tanks in certain scenarios in PvE where they get crowd controlled, they break free, and they're breaking free straight into some kind of high consistent damage attack. Well, they're going to be taking less damage in that case. So that's the penalties and bonuses for the 3 different skill lines covered, and also the fact that there's no 5-piece requirements anymore. So let's get into the champion point system, the pièce de la résistance. The biggest change, really, I mean, you can see the change already. This bar here, we'll get into that in a second. The big reworks, really, they've reworked a lot. I'm not going to go into all of the specifics. There are already guides out there that will tell you what every single different star in each constellation does, how much bonus it gives, etc. If you want that information, go and find it. I am not going to detail all of that here. We're already nearly 30 minutes into this video. So, but let's start with green CP here. I've only done one example because I just think this is awesome. But before we get to that, what you'll see immediately is you have bright stars. All of these are, you have to add that star to your bar here for the particular bonus to be active on your character. So as you can see here, and this is true for all 3 constellations, you have 3 unbound stars that tend to offer more general bonuses. So for the green CP, sneak cost reduction, repair cost reduction, I don't really see that being useful for anyone but newer players perhaps who are a little bit cash strapped. And then my personal favourite is increases out of combat movement speed by up to 50%. You put up to 50 points in each of these. So I've played around with that a lot, and I'll show you very quickly because my dude has it active, and look how fast I'm moving now. I'm not even pressing sprint right now. I'm moving like really quickly. And also I'll show you very quickly, this works. Come on, swim, deep water. Where's the deep water? Come on. Here we go, deep water. Increases your swim speed as well. So that's very nice. I'm just going to recommend that all players slap your first 50 points of green CP into this. It's such a nice quality of life bonus. I'm going to have it on every character. It does obviously make it a little bit harder to position, a little bit easier to overrun. So particularly if you need to be in a very specific location, if you're trying to jump to something like a small ledge or whatever, and you've got to do fine-tune movements, you might want to take it off, which is easy to do. Let's go back into the system. The big change here, you no longer get recovery increases, cost reductions for roll, dodge, block, etc. in this constellation. This entire constellation is dedicated to basically harvesting in one form or another. So just briefly showing over some of these, it increases yields, it makes it easier for stealth gameplay, all that sort of thing. Lots of nice things, even fishing. There's all sorts here. And obviously, just to show you quickly, in order to unlock all of these, obviously you have to put points in those that are already available. So you start with these 3 here, which is movement speed, penalty of sneak, merchants, goods cost, and then fall damage reduction. And then you have to go up to the first stage to unlock the next one along. So, and the same is true for all of these. So you go to a stage, it unlocks the next ones around. So it works a lot more like the system that Elder Scrolls players of previous Elder Scrolls games will perhaps be familiar with, I suppose. But yeah, get your 50 points in this. It's great. Just make sure that you put it up here, that it's active. So let's move on to red CP next. Now this tree, or this constellation, has had a rework as well. You will no longer find direct resistances in this tree. You will no longer find things like hardy, elemental defender, etc. in this constellation. It's different. So the 3 unbound ones here are, so recovery, health, and armor. They're all active ones. I'll just say that now. So you might want to think about whether you want to really spend any points in those. It's up to you. And then if you look here, your 3 starting ones, we can ignore sprint for now. I'm not really bothered about that. But if you look at these 2 starting ones, one is concerned with reducing cost of roll dodge. So this is tumbling now. And the other is reducing the cost of block. Now, obviously, briefly going back to our stat sheet, the cost of block at base is much lower than the cost of roll dodge. So, as such, the reductions in cost in CP tree are relative too. So you can say we put 50 points in this. That's a 480 stamina cost reduction to the base cost of roll dodge. If we briefly look at how that works, and we put all of this on, okay, how that works here. Oh, I haven't actually activated it. Just bear with me a second. Okay, so let's confirm that. So that's active now. This is a yellow star. Yellow stars are passives. They are always active when you have points in them. Obviously, to at least stage 1. They're always, you don't have to put them up in the bar here like these bigger stars. So these are always available. And that's important, I think, as you are leveling CP. We'll get to that in a sec. But if we go back to my stat sheet here, it's not reduced. Well, isn't that strange? That might be something that I have to flag up to ZOS, because I would expect that to be lower. So let's try removing our gear and see if it's actually reduced the base cost. See, it has reduced the base cost by 480. So let's try putting that armor back on now. There we go. Okay, 2800 now. So overall, you're getting, with that reduction, you're getting a little bit less, I think, cost reduction from wearing your 7 pieces of light armor, because obviously it's a percentage reduction from base. Your base will factor in the reduction from CP initially, I think, and then the reduction from the skill line passives. I haven't done the maths on that. I could be wrong, but I think that's how it's working. So, but anyway, let's go back into the trees. So, as you can see, the red CP is focused a lot on active mitigation. Apart from that one. So you've got the ones that we've seen before to do with damage shields. This is a big one. Let me just redistribute here, because I'm gonna give now let's say an example of what you could do. So say you've just reached CP 160. You're not sure what to do here. How to spend your first 53, let's say 53 points. So here's an example. Say you're a mag character. Okay. Let's get points in there to unlock this. Get some points in here to unlock this. So it's 20 points. That's 25 points there. Now what you could do, whack this. Up to 20, so you've got a nice amount of extra health here. And that's passive, remember. You don't have to actually put anything up here. So that's 45 points you've spent. What to do with the rest? Well, it's up to you. What I would recommend is, as soon as you're able, I would do this. And you will need 85 red CP points at minimum to do this, because this is huge. This is active, so you need to put it up there. But for every 10 ultimate you have, you get 50 health recovery. So when you have 500 ultimate, that is 2,500 health recovery. That is huge. Now, if you combine that, if you look at the base health recovery of your average character, it's 300-ish. You can get this up to close to 1,000 if you use a food such as bewitched sugar skulls, which one is it? Corrupting Bloody Mara, which gives you magicka and health recovery, or whatever else that gives you health recovery. So you can get yourself to near 1k health recovery there at base. And then on top of that, add, if you have 500 ultimate, another 2,500. So you can have effectively around about 3,500 health recovery there, which is the equivalent of 1,750-ish heals per second. Obviously, you're getting 3,500 health back every 2 seconds, but that's what it works out to per second. That's massive, particularly for a solo player. Or even, it doesn't even have to be a solo player, I suppose. It could be any kind of player. Such nice high passive health regeneration is significant. This is, I suppose, your new buffer, really. Because overall, when we get to blue CP, you'll see that mitigation, you can't quite get it as high. And particularly at lower CP, it's harder to achieve higher mitigation via resistances and stuff. But this, I don't know whether this will change. It may well do. They may feel that 2,500 health recovery for 500 ultimate is too much. Personally, I think that's about right. You have to save your ultimate up to get that much. More realistically, given the, say, average cost of an ultimate is between, let's say, 150 and 250. So on average, you're going to see an extra 750 to 1,000-ish, let's say, health recovery. So yeah, it gives you as a player the opportunity. Say if you feel that you are taking too much consistent damage to really, you can't really finish off your opponents with your ultimate, well, just save your ultimate and keep that health recovery ticking upwards. That's nice, I think, personally. So yeah. Other things in here, there's a lot really, I suppose, that is down to personal preference. These here, I think, are nice passives. Cost reduction, particularly for mag players. Cost reductions for break free, roll dodge are great. And you will see more enhanced versions like this. Crowd control, less damage taken, etc. Yeah, and then over this side, there's block related and bash related reductions. So yeah, I think the way they've changed this is really nice. It's going to take some getting used to, because obviously, as I said, the resistances and stuff, reduced damage taken, etc., aren't really in here. This is all about active mitigation. Well, more about active mitigation and recovery. Let's put it that way. So let's go finally to the blue CP. Now, this one is the most complex tree. It's been reworked significantly. Your 3 stars here are stamina, magicka weapon spell damage. Again, 50 points each, but these three are active, so you have to have them up here to get the bonuses from them. Same as most of the others here. So, in my opinion, these aren't necessarily worth worrying about, unless you really want to maximize resources or maximize your weapon spell damage. There's a lot more flexibility. As I've been saying throughout this whole video, there's a lot more flexibility. But yeah, as you see here, we have two sub-constellations, and if we go into them, you'll see resilience, which is your critical resistance for PvP. That is active. Again, that has to be up here for it to be active. And then you have 4 passives here. 1 hardy, we've seen that before. The maximum amount you can get from that now has been reduced quite significantly. If you look at that, it's 1% per stage. Well, there's 5 stages, so it's a maximum of 5% in hardy, 50 points. And quick recovery. This one, once this is unlocked, you have to unlock it by getting to stage 1 here to unlock it. Once that's unlocked, then you have to go through this 10 points here to get to the rest. So 1% extra healing taken. I suppose if you really wanted it, you could go up to 5, but I think that's probably worth the points. So you've got martial attack, damage reduction. Then you have, I'll get to that in a second actually. On the right here, magical attack damage reduction. And again, that's maximum of 5%. So say if you are a tank wearing 5 pieces of heavy armor, you're taking 5% extra damage from magic attack. So you could, if you wanted, get 50 points in that. And they cancel each other out, basically. Well, presumably. You have to wonder how Zos calculates it. But anyway, the other thing here that I think is quite interesting, reduces your damage taken from non-player attacks by 2% per stage. Now, originally this tooltip was wrong. It was saying 3%, and then when I checked it, yeah, it's 2% and maximum of obviously 10% for 50 points. And that's passive. All of these are passives, so they don't have to be up here, apart from this one. So that, you know, in the long run, for a well-seasoned player, that 10% reduction from non-player attacks, and that's all non-player attacks as far as I'm aware, both single target and AoE. That's quite significant there. But let's come out of this. I'll briefly show you the other one. This one is all about offense, and each like arm here is focused on magic and stamina. So you have, instead of spell and physical penetration, we have offensive penetration, so it works for both. So you put points in this to stage 1, you're getting 350 offensive penetration to both. So you know you can get a maximum of 1750 extra offensive penetration for 50 points there. It's not bad. And you know you can tailor it a lot more to how much you actually really need in your build with your gear and your mundus, etc. If we put 10 points in here, then we've got access to increase your chance to apply magical status effects by 30% per stage. So yeah, that's whack. 150% increased chance there. That's nice, I think. 100 points, nice. Probably not. Depends again on the build. And then this one for 30 points grants 100 weapon and spell damage to magical attacks. And as you can see, magic, flame, frost, and shock damage. Those are the magical attack types. And this is mirrored for stamina based or martial attacks on this side. So let's come back out of this again. The main thing, as you've already seen with this, is that they have combined stats where they can. So once we get to, here we go. This is one of the openers that you can put points straight into. Critical chance. This is critical chance in general. So this increases both spell and weapon critical per stage. The same is true of critical damage. It's combined now. That's a nice change in my opinion. It increases flexibility, and they've done the same here. If you look, increases damage done with single target attacks. This we've already seen before, and then here increases damage with area of effect attacks. So one thing I believe is, or two things I believe are missing from here now are, I believe, yeah, they are missing, are the increases to light and heavy attack damage with weapons. Presumably, this is now going to be the go-to. This is only a maximum of 10%. So, you know, there are less active ways overall, because remember, you have to choose four stars here to be active. Less overall ways for you to amp your damage up. So that's an interesting change. And then over here on the left side, this is all healing related. So we've got a lot of what's active on this side is actually passive here. So passive healing done with area effects. Passive healing passively increases healing done with single target, etc. Whereas on the damage side, it's active. They have to be up here. On the healing side, it's passive. Doesn't have to be up here, except for those three. So, how would you start out in this tree as a fresh CP160, for example? Personally, I would concentrate on raw stats and concentrate on passive bonuses rather than filling this up. So, this one, for a Magtoon, 260 Magicka per stage, maximum, I believe, was it 1300 Magicka? Don't forget, that's not only increasing your resource pool, that is increasing your effective spell damage. So you're getting effectively, what is it? It's 10.5-ish Magicka per one spell power. So you're getting around about 125, let's say, spell power. I think might be a bit less than that. I don't know. Around about that from filling that up, as well as an extra 1300 Magicka to use. And then over here, we've got stamina, same thing again. So I would concentrate as a fresh player on these general bonuses. And then as you accrue more CP, I would start to worry more about going into these. Perhaps this you could possibly concentrate on fairly early on if you felt you needed extra penetration to amp up your attacks. It's really up to you. I think it's only really important to start thinking about these when you're more advanced. I mean, perhaps this one would be good to do early-ish, that extra base to your damaging abilities. However, that's to damaging abilities. If we look over here, this one is actually just weapon spell damage. So that will increase, it should increase your healing as well. So that may be better to put up here. So, but in terms of sort of like active versus passives, I would concentrate on raw stat passives initially. This here with critical chance bonus, it's really up to you what you want to do. It depends on your build, your gear, what Mundus you're using, what crit chance you're already sitting on, basically. As a general rule of thumb, if you are sitting at, I think it's around 52% critical chance for your abilities, that is the break even, around about there is the break even point for increasing crit versus increasing crit damage. So if you're at or close to 52%, what I would do, shove your 10 points in there to unlock those, and then concentrate more on increasing your actual crit damage. If you are below 52%-ish, then you can increase your crit chance via this. Put more points in here, amp it up a little bit. It only goes up to 800, which is around about, I think, 2.5% crit chance. It's not a huge amount, but it can make the difference. It can get you past that break-even point. So there's that to think about. But yeah, as I said, if you are low CP, it's worth, I think, concentrating more on these raw stats. This is an interesting one, perhaps for someone who's a little bit higher up. When you deal direct damage, you heal for 7% of the damage done. And that is direct damage, that's not damage over time, for example. It's not necessarily area of effect damage, it's direct damage done. Which I believe light attacks from most weapons, if not all, count as direct damage. Yeah, so that could be interesting for solo players, or any player, to be fair. Whether you, I suppose, you feel it's worth a 50-point investment and having to use one of these on that potential. So yeah, I think as the player base gets to grips more with this system, I mean, there are people who've already come out with guides suggesting what to do. I think initially this will be daunting to look at, daunting to work with, but if you tie this change in with all of the other changes that they're making, you've got a lot more of a flexible system to really tailor your stats. As I've been saying all through this, you can really, really, really tailor these if you want to. So, anywho, I've been talking for nearly an hour, and I think I need a cup of tea. So, if anyone has any specific questions that they want me to try to answer about the game, don't start asking me personal stuff, please, because that's rude. And I'm British, and we do not do rude things. Not on my channel, damn it. Yeah, if you have questions, I can try to answer them. Bear in mind that any answers I may give, any possible advice I may give with regard to how you might build your character with regard to CP layout and stuff, is subject to change still. We've got a while yet of testing before update 29 goes to live servers. So I intend to do another video after the last PTS changes, because I think by then everyone who's testing will have a really good grasp on the specifics of sort of like maximizing or getting the most out of the CP you have at the time this goes live. Because one of the things that I actually forgot to mention, which you'll know if you watch the global reveal event, is that the maximum CP threshold has now gone up to 3,600. So 810 seemed like a lot before. Well, yeah, it's nothing now, isn't it? So, yeah, so you'll have a maximum of 1,200 CP to put into each tree. So over the longer term, you'll be able to pick up all of the passives, fill all the passives out if you want, and pick up most of the active stars to put in your bars, and you'll be able to change those out as necessary to tailor your character's build to particular situations, which I think is great. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed the video. I hope I haven't bored you to tears. And see you soon, guys. Bye.